But this celebration was set to begin at 1 week. And Woodson and ASALH, it's the predecessor to ASALH, wanted that 1 week to envelop both birthdays of Abraham Lincoln, February 12th, and Frederick Douglass, February 14th. But then in around 1969, if my memory serves well, because of some incidents of 1968 on the campus of Kent State. A lot of people don't write or talk about it, but Jackson State in Mississippi and South Carolina State in Orangeburg, South Carolina. In 1968, we recall activity which result in the deaths of students. The students at Kent State decided to start a campaign to turn the week into a month. And believe it or not, they held the first celebration of Black History Month in 1970. It did not become official until 1976, when Gerald Ford signed legislation. I just want to read you what Gerald Ford said when he signed the legislation. He urged all Americans to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans. Now, no field, I don't believe there's a single field where the contributions of Black Americans have been more discredited and dishonored than in the field of medicine. Few people beyond our culture ever take time to honor the contributions of Charles Drew, without whose work we may not have discovered how best to preserve blood and save it until it's needed. He unlocked those secrets. Or how many beyond our culture are aware that the first open heart surgery, successful open heart surgery ever performed in this country was performed by Daniel Hale Williams, who happened to have been Black? Not to mention the contributions of Samuel Kuntz. Samuel Kuntz, who was the first person in the world that was able to successfully transplant a kidney in someone who was not an identical twin. And before he died at the tender age of 51, he performed over 500 successful kidney transplants. A Black man from Arkansas. Now, as neglected and disrespected as our providers and our professionals were, those who are consumers of medicine and its great research have been just as disrespected. I want to read you a quote of Martin Luther King Jr. uttered in 1966 at the annual meeting of the Medical Committee for Human Rights. King said on that occasion, "Of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane." Think about it. Because I thought about it on the day that we passed the Affordable Care Act. When I stood on the floor of the House that day, I referred to the Affordable Care Act as the Civil Rights Act of the 21st century. Now, some people may be a little surprised that I would refer to a health care law as a Civil Rights Act. But that's exactly what it is. That health care law didn't just start with Barack Obama. Presidents since Theodore Roosevelt, not Franklin, since Theodore Roosevelt, for more than 100 years, presidents have been coming forth with some way, some form of making health care accessible and affordable for everybody. But on that day, what we did, we outlawed discrimination against children born with diabetes. We outlawed discrimination against women who could be thrown off of their insurance policies as soon as they contract breast cancer, or men who were thrown off of insurance policies as soon as they contracted prostate cancer. We outlawed discrimination against women who were charged up to 50% more for insurance just because they were women. That act outlawed all of those forms of discrimination. That's what Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about when he talked about it being shocking and inhumane. But it's not shocking to a lot of people because they just don't know it. But when you find it out, you tend to make your feelings known.